So Tony, our Chief Technology Officer, comes from a completely different world where we, on one side, do a lot of work with light fixtures. We also do a lot of work with advanced controls. And so Tony, I'll give you a chance to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, I'm not actually from lighting. So, I come from a different path. I'm more from the network side. Probably for the last 20 years, I've been involved in networks, wireless networks especially. And oddly enough, early on in my career, I was always a part of the team that had to simplify networking, try to make it easy for everybody. And this was way, 15, 20 years ago with all wireless networks. Even the ones in your home, your commercial office spaces, those types of things. So the nice thing about that is later on in my career, when I entered the lighting industry, I was able to take my network background and experiences and apply them to an emerging industry and a technology, which is ZIgbee, mesh networks, lighting control, smart buildings. So having that opportunity was just, really beneficial for me because of my background, and then getting into lighting and actually see a real product come from nothing into millions and millions of square feet under control. And it's just been amazing to see that, and we're still working to this day. How do we make it simpler? How do we make it so that the installers understand how to install it? How do we make it easier for the end users to use it?
Can you explain to our audience what ZIgbee is and why that's interesting to them? Because from my experience, ZIgbee is not a well-branded wireless technology. It exists everywhere, probably most places you didn't know, but it's being used a lot in advanced controls. So maybe you can
That's
talk
right.
about
So the big thing about ZIgbee is that it's low power and it's a mesh network. So it's ideal for commercial building spaces. It's a mesh network, like I said, so it's different than Wi-Fi. It's low power, and it's kind of always been undercover because it's kind of like Intel Inside, or that sort of thing, where it's in the fixture, it's in the switch, but no one really cares about the technology that is ZIgbee. The fact is that it's mesh network, so it's more suitable for the application, and there's other technologies, but as long as it's a mesh, it has the ability for mesh and it's low power, then it's usually used for commercial buildings and the Internet of Things, basically.
Well, that's a great segue. What is this Internet of Things that everybody's talking about?
So, to keep it simple, the Internet of Things is just basically the network that all the things talk on. We have phones, we're on a different internet, but the Internet of Things is the network that brings all of those devices to the internet so that we can then interact with them as well.
And that's the same thing as M to M or machine to machine?
Well, I would say in the early days it was M to M because it was just machines talking to machines, right? A switch talking to a fixture wirelessly or on a network, that's kind of machine to machine. Mm-hmm. But now we're taking it further, and those things are connected to a bigger network like the internet, and it's allowing people to interact and monitor and take control of those things as well.
Is this all fluff? Do we really care about IoT in our building, or is there real value that's being generated?
I honestly believe that there's true value. Having that sort of network, a separate backbone for all of these things to communicate is ideal, because they're not interfering with other networks, not interfering with the networks that provide you with your data accesses for your email, your servers, all those things. It's a separate network. And those sort of things will allow you to do asset tracking, HVAC, not just lighting. There's all sorts of things that you can do with the network.
I think that's probably one of the biggest questions in wireless: advanced controls, IoT, network controls. These are all terms that are used that, in our vlog series, we're going to talk about what advanced controls really are, what network controls are versus local controls. But one of the issues that comes up all the time is security. How secure is this network? Is someone going to hack my internal network by coming in through the lighting wireless, the ZIgbee network? Is that even possible? And obviously, we're talking ZIgbee right now. There's all sorts of other technologies that we'll get into as well, like Bluetooth and Thread and Wi-Fi and all sorts of other technologies. So maybe you can just kind of talk a little bit about your experience with security and what some of the concerns have been out there. If you're a salesman and you're thinking about selling advanced controls, there's a lot of unknowns, and you're talking to the manufacturers, and the manufacturers are giving you the standard line. We have this much security, and there's no way that anyone can hack us, and those types of things. We'd like to be able to give you our impression of that, because we, a lot of us have worked for these companies. A lot of us have installed probably more square feet than anybody even at those companies have installed. So, I think you can maybe get it for real from us. But so tell us a little bit of your experience with security.
Yeah, well, so, one of the things that I've always told customers when we install these systems or in sales meetings where we're pitching the product is that when we bring this in, we're not going to make your system any more secure or any less, right? So if your system was already insecure or unsecure, then when we bring this in, it's going to remain that way. So it really depends on the network that you have in place. And
is that because the firewalls and those types of security measures?
Yeah, so when I think of security for ZIgbee, the technology that we're using, it's secure. 128-bit AES encrypted. You commission systems, you see the devices that you're bringing in, you lock it down, you go away. No one's getting in through there, right? But if you're putting that system onto your network, to the cloud, then there are going to be some vulnerabilities, but you just have to take the right steps to prevent that, make sure it's secure.
So one of the things that we are seeing is this migration from a world where advanced controls was specified through a dedicated channel of specifiers, architects, agents, to a world where advanced controls are becoming more fixture integrated. They're disappearing. The components, a good example is, there was a wireless system that we were working with where we were doing a project of a decent size. Let's say it was a 300 fixture project, and the advanced control system was allegedly wasn't shipped. So the contractor was saying that the product's not here, reship it. I mean, it was like panic around the office. Man, I got tracking, it says that it was signed for, it's not here. And we kind of realized there's a really good chance that they don't know how small this control system is. So are you looking for a pallet? Are you looking for a truck? Or are you looking for a very small box that might be in the corner somewhere? Oh, well, I was looking for a pallet, right?
Or they can't find the control panel.
Right, yeah, right. Exactly. Where's the control panel? There is no control panel.
It's
These
in the
are
cloud.
all built into the fixtures. So, they're all built in the, yeah, you already installed the controls. You didn't even know it. They were all in the fixture. Now it's just a router. And that's in a very small box, probably, over on the manager's office or something like that. So that changes everything. That changes everything, because if the controls are sold in the fixture, then no longer does it require this intricate networking infrastructure of wiring in these 15 layers of controls, like buses and relays and low voltage controllers, and wiring the low voltage all over the place, and needing wiring diagrams. So if everything's in the fixture and all it requires is literally a router to catch everything in the fixture, a lot of the channel players that would typically have specified this are finding challenges on how to fit in. Well, I used to, I had a discussion with an engineer once. He called me up, and he was really concerned about how to design a wireless system that we were working with. And it literally took me an hour to finally convey that he did not have to draw a wire on the wiring diagram. And he told me it was his job to draw a wire. Mm-hmm. And that if he didn't draw a wire, he hadn't done his job. And it was this discussion of wireless. Yeah, it's wireless, but it's got to be a wire, So he ended up drawing a wire anyways. But I think that kind of shows this gap from, an older infrastructure, what we grew up installing for years, to now where we are now, where everything's integrated into the fixture. Well, how does that change the space? And it changes it in a really dramatic way. And if we don't address that in our approach to the market, if we try to keep the same pieces, the same channel structure, and all the same people trying to jam this round peg or the square peg in the round hole, then you end up with projects that don't make sense. They aren't designed properly. They're designed almost as if they were trying to force a wireless advanced network control system to be an old panel-based system. We see it all the time. And that ends up leading to the end user getting literally the opposite of the project that they bought